Peace. Remember back before we made the deal with El Salvador, they were turning the planes around because they didn't want the illegals back in their own countries.
Right, because a district judge had ruled when one of the planes was on the ground that they were breaking the law. That's actually why.
Wait, hold on, though. But think about this.
He's got 39% approval ratings the first 100 days, which are some of the worst numbers in 70 years. So I have no idea what
throughout the first 100 days, there were times where he had the highest approval ratings throughout his entire presidency. You're focusing on the lowest poll recently, which occurred during this media smear campaign.
You are saying, right? I know it's always the media's fault, David.
Of course it is, because they lie to everybody. All of your viewers that are calling me maggot, idiot, and all these horrible things are saying, they're informed by fake news, which is why they're so angry.
Oh, really?
Because they've been lied to their entire freaking lives, Brian.
So they're being lied to.
Of course they are.
We'll get to that. Which was the network that had to pay $900 million to I believe what was the company? I'm trying to remember.
Are you talking about the election fraud and what the hell is that? I don't even remember the name.
Who are the people that stormed the Capitol? Who are the people on Fox News that were sued by?
Who are the Congress members that attacked federal officers outside a detention facility in New Jersey? One of which is facing federal charges. Is she an insurrectionist? Is she a terrorist?
You have to be kidding me. You're comparing.
I'm not kidding you. I'm 100% serious.
You're comparing that incident to an incident where 140 officers were injured, and you think they're on the same playing field?
Same exact thing. And I'm going to tell you what, it was just more people at the Capitol on January 6th. Do you think it's okay for the mayor of New Jersey and or mayor from, I forget what town in New Jersey, and a U.S. congresswoman to physically assault a federal agent doing their job and then storm entry into a facility that they had no authorization to be at? Is that okay? That's exactly what happened on January 6th. Why are they different? Why are they different?
I'll tell you why. Because
you don't like the people who support Trump.
That's I'm going to give you some facts, David.
Sure.
So first of all,
we have to talk about January 6th. We always end up talking about January 6th.
In that incident, nobody was sent to the hospital. Nobody lost their life on January 6th.
No officers died on January 6th.
Hold on. 140 officers were injured. Okay. Now, if you think Brian Sitnick's death hours later had nothing to do with January 6th, you can, quote, die on that hill. Okay. But I can tell you that there were multiple people that lost their lives. There were 140 officers that were
Babbitt lost her life that day. She was shot in cold blood.
There were multiple people that lost their lives, and Ashley Babbitt deserved it for being an absolute imbecile.
She deserved to be killed unarmed.
Well, let me tell you something.
Then maybe we should apply that standard to the people that are storming the federal immigration detention facility. Should we just shoot them too, Brian? Is that an okay standard? Do they deserve it, Brian? Do they deserve it?
You are comparing the mayor and her actions that day to Ashley Babbitt's actions. Are you
100%? It's the same thing. How is it different?
Well, I'll tell you, because a group of idiots on January 6th tried to overthrow a fair and free action.
No, they didn't try to overthrow. They were protesting. They didn't overthrow anything. They didn't overthrow anything.
So hang Mike Pence and going in there with box cutters and handcuffs and all
cutters. What? This was a thing? There was a box cutter army now on January 6th? Who was injured by a box cutter in the January 6th riots?
There were police officers that were beat with their own batons. They were pepper sprayed. And I'm shocked that you would compare that.
The protesters. The protesters were sprayed by pepper spray as well. And they were assaulted by the police's batons. Many of them who were stuck in a crowd who didn't even want to go into the Capitol. And then many of them who went to jail, by the way, and sat in solitary confinement. Didn't even know they couldn't go in the Capitol because by the time they got there, the doors were open. January 6th is one of the most misrepresented things probably in the last 4 years. And I don't want to argue about January 6th because it's way off topic of so many important things that we should talk about today. We can talk about it another time. I know we disagree. My comparison that I'm making is it is not okay for Democrat elected officials to go into a federal facility that they're not authorized to be at, forcibly enter that facility and strike officers in the process, regardless if the officer was injured. You cannot model that behavior and then compare one to the other and say, well, these people suck, but these people are righteous. It's all
let me ask you a question. If the mayor is found guilty of seditious conspiracy, which, by the way,
the mayor wasn't. They dropped the charges against the mayor in the spirit of moving forward, by the way.
In the
spirit of moving forward, but they did.
I'm giving you a
Donald Trump with four separate cases. They went after Donald Trump, but in the spirit of moving forward, they dropped the charges against that New Jersey mayor. And you know what? A lot of PAGA's pissed about it. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats. You seem to defend January 6th insurrectionists, but you'll talk about it there because you had the right to go in there. But there is a big difference.
What right did he have? Who elected? He's a mayor. He's not even a federal officer. What right did a mayor of a state mayor have a right to go into a federal facility uninvited?
You can look at that. If it's an ICE facility, you actually are allowed to go in there
really?
Unannounced. Yeah,
you can just walk in.
You could
when
actually
they were telling you can't go in and you force pass them.
David,
Right,
here's my issue. You could
Try
look
that,
up
see what
the laws and you could look up what the powers that they have. If it is an ICE facility, they are allowed unannounced without an appointment to go to any of these. Yes, it doesn't matter whether you're a mayor.
Once they get there, they can do whatever they want there.
I'm trying to explain to you the laws because I actually looked this up. It doesn't matter if you're an elected official. The rules are you are allowed to go unannounced, uninvited to any ICE facility in this country if you want to. Those are the laws that are put in place.
What are you allowed to do when you get there, though?
No.
And for your comment here, person that called me a Nazi, I'm Jewish, you moron. So try again. But no, what are they allowed to do once they get there? By the way, what are they allowed to do when they get there?
But that's irrelevant to the conversation.
It is not irrelevant because just having the right to go doesn't give you a right to forcibly shove federal officers and force entry into a place where you aren't authorized to be. This is what I'm saying. You cannot compare one to the other and say, well, these guys are good and these guys are not. Technically, the Capitol is the public. It belongs to the public. It's a people's house. You can't close them off from it if you want to look at the Constitution. It doesn't belong to the government.
That's absolutely not true. There are parts that that's a bad faith,
but not the front door, not the visitor area. You're allowed to go into there.
You understand that you are not. There are parts of areas that you are not allowed to go into. And Ashley Babbitt was in a secure location where she was not able to break through, and she wasn't allowed to go through there.
So
a gun was pointed at
New Jersey mayor, and he wasn't shot.
And you're comparing the two. Okay,
yes,
all right.
Well, there were both places they were unauthorized to be.
Last I checked, the mayor wasn't screaming "Hang Mike Pence," and he wasn't.
Neither was Ashley Babbitt.
Well, Ashley Babbitt was there, and she actually was armed, and she was there. And if you want,
what was she armed with?
First of all, I would tell you that she had I forgot what you would call those. Not handcuffs, but I don't even remember what they're actually called. She had those on her, and she was extremely brainwashed, and she was part of a MAGA cult that was in there.
She deserved to die, according to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was investigated.
It was. I'm sure it was.
I know if it doesn't fit your narrative, you don't respect any.
Same with you, though. Come on, to be fair, if it doesn't fit your narrative, it's the same.
According to what? How do I not respect the courts? Give me an example.
I don't know. Let's move on.
You don't know. Okay. Well, I'm just saying when you make a claim like that about me and you can't back it up with a fact. Listen, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with the O.J. Simpson verdict, right? But I'm still not going to sit here and talk about it for 30 years. Do I think he was a murderer? Probably, and he was found liable. But courts make decisions. We have a constitution. You're an attorney. You understand this. You're innocent until proven guilty. And that's the way it is. And this guy who shot Ashley Babbitt, it was investigated. And that's why no charges were filed. End of story. So you guys can say, well, I don't agree with it, blah, 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 blah. But my tax dollars shouldn't have to go pay a family for a moron who decided, yes, that's what Ashley Babbitt is. She's a moron who was brainwashed and stormed the Capitol because she wanted to overthrow a free and fair election. And she had multiple seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds when they said, he's got a gun. And that didn't deter her for being the moron that she was. Okay. And now she's dead for it.
Well, I disagree with you. And I don't think U.S. tax dollars and resources should be paid to re-import foreign gang members that have no authorization to even be in the United States. So let's move on from there.
Again, like I said, we need evidence that they're gang members and due process.
Actually, you don't. They don't have a right to be here. Why is that so hard? They're illegally present in the United States. Who cares?
You're not understanding, again, my argument. It's not that they're illegal. That is the question. If they're going to be deported, that's one thing. That's not what I'm talking about. When you're sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world, it's not due process to be able to put them in a facility like that just because they're undocumented. Why is that so hard for people
Brian,
like you to understand?
Those people, those 260 people that were sent to CCOT, not to be confused with Epcot. Epcot's a lot of fun. Those people that were sent there, nobody wanted them. They were so dangerous. This is the problem. Their own countries wouldn't even take them back. And proof of that, Brian,
what do you mean nobody wanted them? Where are you getting? What are you talking about?
The countries where they come from, they were literally trying to turn the planes around when Trump tried to send these. Remember back before we made the deal with El Salvador, they were turning the planes around because they didn't want the illegals back in their own countries.
Right, because a district judge had ruled when one of the planes was on the ground that they were breaking the law. That's actually why.
Hold on, though. But think about this. If you're from a country, right, and then you leave that country and enter another country illegally, and then the country you entered into illegally wants to bring them back, you're like, no, we don't want them. And then when the country that they came to illegally goes, fine, if your country won't take you, we're going to send you to somewhere else less pleasant. Those people go, wait, United States, you owe me due process. You have to take me from this one country that I shouldn't be at, take me back to another country I shouldn't be at. Why doesn't their home country remove them from the place they're not supposed to be? Do they not have rights in their their own countries? Why aren't their countries seeking to remove them from that facility? Did you wonder that ever?
You don't put someone in a facility like that just because you don't like somebody or you don't want them. That's not how our Constitution works.
Where are their home countries? Why aren't they rescuing them, Brian?
Okay, so first of all, it's one thing if you're sent to your, quote, home country. It's another thing when you're sent to an El Salvador prison.
But why won't countries take them out of that prison?
Why won't their countries take them out of
Let's say there's a guy from Syria, like the barber. Why doesn't Syria come and rescue him from CCOT?
I'll tell you why. Because we've been told based on people that run that facility, and they've said it pretty clearly with straight faces, once you're sent here, you never get let out. They will not allow anybody go in there and let somebody take them out unless you have the power like Donald Trump has. And we know he has the power. And we know that this guy who runs this El Salvador prison, they're making tons of money off these facilities, tons of them. In fact, Trump wants more of these facilities to be made. And he's also made statements about U.S. citizens being sent to those facilities, which is beyond outrageous and ridiculous.